Global tech companies waste around 20 billion annually on ineffective rebrand techniques. And that includes rebranding that gets completely reversed, the one that has zero measurable impact, that actively damages the brand, think about latest Jaguar rebrand, and also where the cost outweighs benefits. And that's just direct cost of rebranding. Add to that lost opportunity cost, productivity lost, customer confusion, and stock value hits, and the real number is far higher. So here's the question. Can rebranding itself actually help your business? Or are you about to invest in a very expensive distraction? Let's dig in. Okay, Simon, so today's really interesting topic, rebranding. Have you recently seen the rebranding that Starling Bank did on their app?
I have.
How did you feel about it?
Good question. How did I feel about it?
Did you care?
I think I was slightly irritated.
There we go. So first reaction is irritation.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I kind of didn't understand why it was done and what actually happened. I think the biggest thing that stuck in my mind about it was the changing font. And I wasn't sure it was easier to read. I actually felt like it was slightly harder, and I thought that there seemed to be like a little bit more space in the interface, so that meant stuff spread out. And also the home logo looks more like an 8 now than it does an S. So I wasn't really sure why they did that, or the value. Yeah.
So, I mean, I was irritated by that as well, because I quite like the old branding of Starling Bank. I actually would use it as an example of one of the best brands out there.
I mean, actually, they did something even before the new brand, which annoyed me. I mean, I'm probably going to go off topic, but they had that really beautiful circular display of how you'd spent. It was like really novel and innovative and different to any other like banking fintech app, because it was like, look, we actually give a shit about you, and we've done something that looks really nice when you open up. Maybe it wasn't so functionable. I mean, changing it, you can see more of the transaction in your statement history, but I actually was slightly devastated when they removed that, and I thought, now it looks like a bit more like a spreadsheet. I mean, it's still great and leaps ahead of any kind of consumer fintech app on the market, but I was a bit sad with that. And then the last bit kind of irritated me. I just hope they'll stop there, but I guess they've got loads of money, massive teams.
They need to be doing something.
Yeah, someone needs to do something.
I have to go back to that circle though, because during Christmas time, the circle was snowing as well.
Oh my God.
That was my favorite part of the app.
In fact, that is a really beautiful example of an experience and delight.
Yeah, the sparkle.
I mean, when do you see that? People talk about creating an experience, giving you a real an emotion, and then the goal with every company or brand is to make an experience that delivers on delight, right? But I mean, there's few that actually do it, and that is an amazing example of one company that actually did do that. It's Christmas time. Of course it's going to snow. What the hell?
I know it sounds ridiculous, but I actually really liked it. You could shake the screen and it would snow. Amazing.
Yeah. Oh, God.
So why do you
Bring back the snow.
Yeah, exactly. We should protest. So basically, the takeaway for me, I didn't like the rebrand because it didn't actually bring anything new for me. I didn't really fancy the font. Maybe color is more funky, and I don't know if they're trying to align with Monzo that has got funky colors. But
Why?
I don't think they need to do that.
Why do they need to do that? It needs to be different from Monzo.
So why do you think companies love rebranding though?
Why do they love them? I don't know, sometimes it's being good. Well, it's like a fresh look. it can be great if it brings you more aligned. You know, Netflix did an incredible job of that when they rebranded, like just recently, with the sound and the audio and the
Oh, I like that.
Oh, it's brilliant. I love it.
That was great. That's the delight moment.
That is the delight moment. Yeah, exactly. That's what a rebrand should be. Sometimes it goes the other way. We won't mention Jaguar.
We did mention Jaguar. It did go completely the other way than intended. I think I worked with on the one app. It has got lots of funding, millions funded in it. It was working okay. And then I remember stakeholders decided to completely rebrand it because for whatever reason, they wanted to add a mascot to it, some kind of, you know, like a little
jumping monkey
being that, you know, people get excited about. And I remember
something being
like something, I don't know if how to call it, but like, you know what I mean? Like some kind of creature that represents the brand. Like you remember old MailChimp that you had like a really cool chimp.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that was really cool. I can't think about anything else right now, but they really wanted to create something like that. So they invested in
it doesn't often work, does it? I mean,
you have to be very careful with this, and you have to find a very good branding agency to do so.
I wouldn't go with the same company that Microsoft used for the Mr. Clippy.
Oh my God, Clippy is a hero of 90s. So
is he?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like your initial ChatGPT almost, isn't it?
He was the initial, like 1.0.
That's right. So I remember
Granddad ChatGPT, brilliant.
I remember when I was working with that company, they invested, I think they paid maybe $500,000 for rebranding of the app and creating that creature. And you know, they wanted to make it creature so they could wear a makeup and you can change their clothes and stuff like that. And I was like, well, like how does it align with people like using this application, you know? And I remember I had a massive conversation, I would say conversation because it was more like argument, with the head of marketing. And she said to me, marketing is the most important thing, obviously, around an app. And I said to her, okay, I said, like, do you remember what is the main color of, apart from black, what is the main color in the Uber app? And she couldn't recall it at all. And I said, that's my point. People don't really remember this kind of stuff, right? Like maybe, okay, I will remember this one, like Netflix, I remember there's like maybe, you know, Red N or something like that. But what I remember is the feeling of me being able to watch like films on demand and having really good customer experience while doing so, right? If we remove that brand and you still have the very good functionality, you're still winning, right? Think about like Amazon. They not necessarily have amazing branding. I wouldn't say the Amazon app has got great branding. Would you?
Well, it has a smiley face, right? Because it's got the A to Z.
Oh, is it? I didn't even realize that it's A to Z.
It's a smile.
Oh, okay. But I'm always thinking they don't have like super beautiful application.
I don't think it was ever a focus.
But they're very functional and they solve a huge problem, which is like, I want this item very quickly, like straight away now.
Yeah, well, first it was a book digitally in my hand.
Yes,
that was the first
really,
thing
really quickly.
Yeah.
And I remember you were telling me about you were working with the company that they were redoing an app as well, and they relaunched the app, and it's actually completely like bombed and was not performing at all.
Yeah, well, it was sort of taken on by an in-house team, and it was marketing led. So they, with the experience of the platform, they brought in things that looked kind of cool and funky and on social media with like big tiles across the page, but it was really ill-fitted for the actual users of that platform device. They were really stressed, and like back-to-back schedules, and time was of the essence. So to kind of scroll through that app and then have like massive tiles when it used to be like list form meant that it took them ages. I remember running some user testing with one of their clients over in the USA and over in the States, and she was like, oh, now I just scroll and scroll and scroll. It was really
yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, that's not a great like look when she's describing her real world and she's being super stressed. So that didn't go well.
Yeah, and also we want to say that we're not bashing marketing teams, because I think good marketing is amazing, same as a great sales like team is amazing, so a product team is amazing, but it's all coming together right? That makes a good product rather than one thing over another.
It shouldn't impact the experience of a product or override what that product is helping you to overcome. And I think that's when it kind of falls down, is when the branding and the excitement of new brand and colors like bypasses the actual core purpose and understanding of what that thing is that it's helping people with, when we get too excited about the colors and the logos, emojis, whatever it is.
I mean, it's nice because you can have meetings about it and everybody sees it. It's much easier, right? But I think like recently we also seen people trying to change branding because they're trying to solve problem like conversion and retention, right? They also can sometimes, they can feel like it's something that you're doing. So it's very active.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't actually mention the UK government's rebrand of the logo, right? It's really great. I mean, everything that's going on in the UK right now, if you look online, we like effectively are a laughing stock. NHS, like grooming gangs, whatever it is. And our government is like, yes, 500,000 new logo, please. That's definitely where we as a country should be spending our money. And like, what did it achieve? I don't really understand like what the benefit of goal of changing that logo is. I think it pissed off a lot
of people, for sure.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I would, just hazard a hunch. It was somebody in government has some friend that has a branding agency and they were like, here you go.
Possible. We don't know.
I don't
Allegedly,
know.
we don't know. It's assuming. Yeah, that's right. Hey guys, we're really hoping that you're enjoying this episode so far. And if you are, please like, subscribe and follow. And if you really want to know more about who we are and what we do, go to buildinggreattech.com. Now let's go back to the episode. So why companies love it? Because they try to solve something, give them something bold to announce. It creates temporary sort of morale boost for the entire company. It's tangible and it's kind of visible. Like we said, it's easy. Everybody can chip in and say, I like this color or don't like it. It's easier than fixing product and positioning, definitely. And it lets team look like they are evolving, even if nothing has changed underneath, really.
I mean, maybe it's not easier than fixing the product. Because if you think about like all of the marketing and tools and branding and everything that would have to go through, depending on the size of the company, it could actually be really...
That is true.
Really big.
I think what I mean is it's easier because fixing positioning and working out your positioning like of your brand or positioning or like functionality of your product could be slightly more like time consuming, and it's not like you can look at your product and say, oh, this is good or this is not good. With branding, it's like, oh, we like this combination of colors.
Subjective, right? Yeah. Someone is being given the power to make a call on, oh yes, people will like this more than another. And
there are obviously hidden costs to that, right? Because
this is Jaguar found out.
Oh my God, the Jaguar story. I don't even know if they sold any of those new cars. I'm not sure if they did.
I don't know. It's like, who buys Jaguars? I'm not sure, but I think the demographic is a slightly older, I'm saying gentleman, wealthier.
Like classy, wealthy gentlemen, I guess, and women. I don't know.
Or maybe they did. They're not that great of cars now. I don't think. I
used to love Jaguar.
They used to be really beautiful.
When I was a teenager, I was
like, wow, they're very classy. They're not made in the UK anymore. What, they were made in the UK?
They were made in the UK. I think now they're made in India or by Tata Motors. I'm not sure.
I think we hired one day, and it was the most uncomfortable ride. We hired it, and we drove down to the coast, and I was like, it looked beautiful, actually.
They still look very beautiful, apart from the latest one. I think the latest one was very mismatched.
I know, I'm not talking about the latest. It was like a year or two ago, and I was like, this looks great. And we sat in it, I was like, oh, God, it's really uncomfortable.
Exactly. But anyway, going back to the actual rebranding costs. Well, first of all, like we already established, probably majority of customers don't really like change. Like most people don't like change.
Yeah, that's true. I don't like change.
So initial reaction to any rebrand probably will be, people are not liking it unless it's like really amazing, and unless it's bringing actual value and there is purpose in that, right? So like I said before, like I was working on this app. They were paying. Well, actually, I was working a couple of apps, or maybe it was the same app that they were constantly rebranding. I think it's possible. They were paying $250,000 to an agency, $250,000 every 3 months for a rebrand. And it brought
Great
zero.
work if you can get it.
Well, yeah, I mean, from what I remember, we did that wasn't including any customer sort of feedback or anything.
Why do you need customers' thoughts?
We ended up spending hours and hours in rooms talking about stuff, but actually didn't bring any value for a company, right? So really,
I worked with a company actually that did here's the company, a really amazing rebranding agency in London. They did the Great Western Railway, and they
that
actually
was
did
beautiful though.
an amazing job of that because they did. Like it was aligned with rebranding of the actual trains, and inside the train in the first class they had like beautiful, I think it was like leather or imitation seats. It was really beautifully done. They did a great illustrative advertising campaign of like Great British tourist attractions and stuff. It was really, really good, and I think that did actually lift.
That looked
Western,
beautiful.
yeah.
I remember that. That was stunning rebrand.
Yeah, there's awards one on
So
that.
you can do it, right? You can do it right.
Yeah.
But I think you need to have like a purpose of doing it.
Yeah.
And the cost could be way beyond just paying the rebranding agency, which would be expensive on its own. But you could also have opportunity costs, right? Hours spent on design instead of product improvement, for instance. You can have lost productivity, so teams freeze and they're waiting for a new brand, limbo kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
that happens so
funny.
many times.
Yeah, that's true.
And customer confusion. So when the identity changes, but the product doesn't, and you kind of like, if you go too dramatically, you can confuse people.
Often, actually, it's quite interesting if you're inside of the company and you're working on the product, the branding like guidelines or tools don't cover everything, because often those agencies aren't actually fully equipped to deliver how that rebrand would be surfaced within the product. When you're talking about like smaller screens, mobile devices, you've got tiny icons to go like top left, menu items, and then like often that stuff is never really kind of considered. Accessibility guidelines is always sort of left out, so you
a
might
lot
have
of creative agencies keep that kind of stuff. I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of the ones that we've worked with or indirectly
not covered in the package.
Yeah, remember like so many times we would get like a branding package and you would have icons, but they never work on a small size. Like you make them smaller and actually don't work, don't make sense, or the colors are not accessible, so when you create buttons out of those colors, they actually don't work. Even with very, very big brands, I'm not going to mention any names, but a huge company that we worked many years ago, and it's like massive, basically public company. They have had used a font color that was inaccessible for like years and years, and then when we arrived, we just literally have overwritten that because that was not legible and not accessible.
Yeah, well, in my head, I always refer to them as guidelines because that's what they are, right? So they're keys. So I would always say, well, that just hasn't been considered.
Yeah,
we'll change it.
So if you work for an agency and you're creating the style guide or anything like that, just make sure you think about how it's going to look like on smaller screens, how the icons are going to work, is there accessibility, contrast met, not just focusing on nice colors, because I personally also like focusing on nice colors, but then you also need to consider all these additional things. And if you're a company that is hiring agency for rebranding, make sure you also check if those colors are accessible and work for your needs, such as will it look good in the app when we use those colors, right? Now, another cost, sort of hidden cost, is stock and sales hits, right? Because in some cases, and we'll cover some real life examples in a second, if we do like very badly timed rebrands, we can actually push the stock down and the sales and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that we've seen many times working with big companies is whilst we're working on rebrand, you have this internal misalignment, right? Like, what is the latest one? There's usually several versions of the same deck. Is this the same color? Or no, this is not the same shade of blue. This all like panic constantly when so many people working from the same deck, right?
Yeah.
So that could be a massive cost as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so onto some real life rebranding disasters. Like, if you want proof of kind of how brutal rebranding failures can be, just have a look at these giants. So, Netflix, interesting one. In September 2011, Netflix announced that they would like split its DVD by mail service from its streaming service. So the DVD business was rebranded as Quickstar. So this required users to manage two separate accounts, two logins, two bills. How annoying. Like, I'm not sure what happened there, but this came like just weeks after Netflix had actually like raised prices by about 60%, already kind of angering many users. So what was the result of that? Well, 800,000 subscribers gone in weeks. So that's a 77% stock drop, and like a backlash so intense that the rebrand was abandoned almost immediately, which had an estimated cost of tens of millions in direct losses plus incalculable trust erosion. So they changed the branding without fixing anything that really kind of matters to users. I mean, that was more than just a rebrand. They had like an actual kind of real business like split. So it wasn't just the brand but the business split, and did not go well.
No, to say the least. I mean, I love also this story from Uber from 2016, where Uber decided to ditch its iconic U. Actually, I was thinking like, what happened with that U? I never noticed that. But anyway, they dropped this U from their logo for a more futuristic and abstract symbol.
So wait, so was it just Burr?
No, but remember there was like a logo, like if you had it like your app, there was you, right, in the app logo. So they dropped it and they replaced it with more futuristic abstract symbol, which is like, I think, that circle with square hole in it, to be sort of reposition themselves as a tech company. More so.
Okay.
Right. So users were very confused, and listen to this. Many users couldn't even find the app on their phone.
That is amazing.
How interesting is that?
I've got so many apps on my phone, I actually don't really look for them anymore. I just use the search.
Oh no, I am still in this phase when I
think I'm maybe 50-50. Some I search, some I try and find.
But how crazy is that? It's such a small change, and people can't find your app.
Yeah.
The rebrand was driven actually top down. I remember reading about this. The main driver behind this was the CEO, and he was quite like very decisive of what he wanted to do. But it wasn't like no users or stakeholders were massively involved in that. And it took around 3 years to implement. That's a long time. And by 2018, they quietly rebranded again to sort of fix that.
So people could find the app again.
Yeah. So millions were spent on this. There was no measurable upside apart from people couldn't find the logo anymore. And it slightly damaged the connection with the users, really.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. If you can't find the app.
Well, yeah.
Lost connection.
No connection.
Completely. Yeah. Another great example is Dropbox. In 2017, Dropbox rolled out a radical new like visual identity. So they went for bright colors, playful shapes, bold typography, which was kind of polarizing and confusing for a brand like associated with trust and utility. So critics kind of questioned whether the spend added like any actual business value. That kind of makes sense because Dropbox, it is like a really functional utility kind of platform that you want to trust and know is stable. So if you went like bright blingy colors, there's a bit of a contradict there. Meanwhile, the product friction and kind of pricing issues like remained in place. So they just went for, let's give it a reskin, make it bright and colorful, and then it's still a bit difficult to use. So instead of like amplifying their strength, they distracted their users.
I mean, I love Dropbox. I was an early adopter of Dropbox. I think since then, since they launched, I think they gradually were slightly deteriorating, maybe in my opinion, from the user experience.
Yeah, they went into like bigger businesses than they were kind of on the startup side. So
I didn't care about their rebrand whatsoever. I wish they improved the customer, like user experience on their platform. Moving on to the sort of biggest and most common rebranding mistakes that we've observed for many years working with huge companies. Okay, so most common rebranding mistakes is rebranding to refresh something for no reason, keep employees busy if they're just sitting around, copying competition. If we see somebody's doing something cool, we feel like we're left out. Branding before clarity. So if we don't have a solid ICP, or like maybe we have weak positioning, people trying to fix that with rebranding. The big mistake is also ignoring user experience. So you change the visuals, but the friction remains.
Yeah, like removing the snow. Nice
my
one,
God.
Starling.
Yes, confusing branding with strategy. So the new look isn't going to be a growth path or plan, really.
I mean, well, it depends. If it's done well and works, it could be.
Well, if you don't fix the problem, so that's not. Yeah. Okay.
There's always a caveat, though.
There's always a caveat.
Yeah.
So measuring the wrong thing. So likes and impressions don't mean retention, conversion, and revenue.
Good one. I like that.
Yeah. And lastly, rebranding to fix stickiness of the product. I don't think you can actually achieve that. I've never heard anyone saying, oh, I'm just going to hang around in this app because it looks nice. Anyways, every failed rebrand starts with design instead of a purpose.
Okay, so how do you actually rebrand with purpose? So I think it's like important to kind of understand, like possibly a horrible truth, that most customers don't really care about your brands. Like I said, I'm not too sure. Maybe some legacy companies people might do, maybe they won't. But really, they're not really that fussed about the fonts that you use, maybe the specific shade of blue, or what your slogan is, what icons you use, what celebrity is behind your campaign. Do they like even recognize them? Some of these do, sometimes they don't. I'm not sure, but I think most people don't really remember all of those things, and if you're in that sector and doing that stuff, you can get quite obsessive over it. I mean, I think there's plenty of people who would disagree with that, but I think for our point, what is it that people really do care when it comes to your product and some technology? It's like, does it actually help solve their big problem? Like when it does, then branding can be like a really great thing and like a nice cherry on top. But primarily, it's about, does it help me overcome my problem?
And there's some actually questions that you can ask yourself before rebranding, right?
Yeah, so I think like the good point to make there is just that a good rebrand can be a real strategic amplifier and not like a cosmetic kind of cover up.
Yes, absolutely. And the questions you can ask yourself is, if you're about to rebrand, what are we trying to achieve with that? What activities will we have to stop in order to rebrand? Can we use this money and time in a better way? Especially you can help customers. Have we fixed all other problems before jumping on the rebranding?
Good question. Yeah, and like let's fix the foundation first. So how clear is your ICP? Like, and how strong is your product experience? What's your like proven value proposition? And like, how is the accessibility with your platform, product or service? Like your fonts and the contrast of colors and stuff.
Also, a really good point is to remember that rebrand should reflect actual revolution or evolution in the business rather than pretend.
Evolution. Huh? Not a revolution. Your C-suite is not going to be happy with that.
So another point to think about is that rebrand needs to reflect the evolution of the business, not to pretend that you have one, right? So there needs to be a story already for the rebrand to be strong. For example, I always loved when Airbnb introduced the experiences on their platform, and that was the sort of a reason to slightly, not maybe rebrand, but change slightly what the website and app looked like, right? So then it makes sense because you make a change because you evolved, your proposition evolved.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's like totally in keeping with the evolution of Airbnb and wanting to build communities and like take that like holiday accommodation to the next phase and help people kind of really experience like a different world. And so the rebrand is aligned with that business piece of development. Is working really, really well. Another one off of that is like co-create with your customers, the same as what Airbnb has done with this, right? They see that there is a want for people when they go away on holiday to experience those different places. This is how they've moved into the community. So they're actually like developing the products and offering with their customers. So you like involve them. That helps kind of like validate your message and the visual proposition. And yeah, no doubt that is going to go down really damn well with people.
Yeah, and also tie the rebrand to clear business goals, right? Retention, uplift, but fix underlying issues first, and premium positioning, new segments entirely. So we need to think like why we're doing this rebrand.
Yeah, and along with that, really important to kind of communicate clearly, tell your customers, inform them like why you're actually doing the rebrand, not so it's like just not a surprise to them, but actually demonstrate the value it's going to support them with and help them kind of understand why you're actually going to this trouble, because it's helping them with
I think maybe if Starling sent me an email explaining what they actually have done, maybe I would look at it slightly differently.
Did they not do that?
They sent me email about that they are rebranding, but
Okay.
I wasn't sure it communicated why they were doing this.
Oh, okay. Just because we want an 8 instead of an S.
Oh, come on. Okay, so let's jump to a summary of the episode.
Yeah, so quick roundup. Rebranding is a seductive but often useless if your foundations is kind of like weak. Global companies waste $15 to $20 billion a year on failed rebrands. Netflix, Uber, Dropbox kind of prove the big names aren't immune to this. So like the common thread of all of this is they tried to rebrand their way out of a poor kind of product experience or positioning problems. So like rebranding isn't really a great product strategy. It's a multiplier of what's already like working. So rebranding done wrong is just a fancy way to waste a whole lot of money, but done right can be a real growth lever.
In this week's challenge, if you're planning to rebrand your product, maybe pause for a second. Write down 3 measurable business outcomes that you are looking to achieve and audit your product first. See if it's clear, your proposition is clear, your ICP is clear, your user experience is clear. If those aren't fixed first and solid, maybe focus on them first. If they are, build a rebrand that amplifies your story, not hides your gaps. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and follow us on social media. If you feel this could help somebody who is about to rebrand and spend a lot of money on that, please share it with them. And if you want to learn more about what we do in the tech space, please visit us on buildinggreattech.com for more tips and tricks on how to make your product more profitable and customer focused. See you next time.